we surround ourselves with people just like us, and we get rid of anyone who we feel especially is above us. The one thing that I would say is look at the people you're comfortable with. What do you guys talk about? Do you talk about ideas or do you talk about other people? If you're in a group of people and you all believe,
what are some stories that people from you can learn and hear?
So one of the interesting things about, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Mark.
All right, cool. How are you doing?
Oh, man. It's been a struggle recently.
What's wrong? What's going on?
I'm just trying to get stuff off my plate. You ever have that experience where you write down your list of things to do and you're like, I'm just not making a dent. That's been my life for the last few weeks, and I feel badly that I have not started the program. I'm outside of my normal day-to-day, set the day, be in the Word, and then do things. And so your school program plus being in the Word hasn't happened for me in probably 2 weeks.
The Word being the Bible, just to be clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can relate. I can tell you I can relate. You got a book, right? You got a book that's, I talked to so many people today, yours is coming out, right? Or is yours out?
It's not out. It's coming out.
No.
I'm writing it, and then I remember you saying, Mark, just finish the book.
Yep.
Pick a date, because you've got a date. It's later in April, I remember.
April 22nd.
Yep.
And I have come up with so many great ideas since I stopped writing the book that I put them in. And now finally, I think I can't think of anything I can put in that can make the book better in a major way. But I can think, you can always find something. Oh, I want to say this, I want to say that. And so, Mark, you just got to stop at some point with the book.
Yeah, that's true.
And what I would say to you, and this is true, if you don't have a good book now, and another chapter, another tweak isn't going to make it a good book. And I don't say that to be discouraging. I'm saying that to be true. If you've written most of it and it's not good, it's not going to get better because you put a tweak in it. So just publish it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, or you look skeptical?
No. So I wrote it in two different ways, and this is probably the challenge in my mind. Is I basically came up with the premise of the book, and then I did a timeline of my life and where I learned these massive things and mistakes from things that I did that support the premise. So I've sort of written the intro, and then I've written most of the stories, and I feel like I have to write each of the stories so people go, now I see how we got to this information. Maybe not everyone needs to see all that, but I feel like I need to be genuine with the narrative and go, this isn't theory, this is practice.
So everyone tells me that stories are make or break a book. Everyone says that. And so I do know there must be some truth to it. But does every chapter need a story? I don't know. You know your book better than I do, but one of the great things about books when you're self-publishing, right?
I haven't decided yet. Probably.
Okay. If you don't self-publish, what are your options?
Well, then I need to hire a publisher, which that's a whole process and a lot of money.
And a lot of money. The beautiful thing is you can self-publish the first version, experience the whole thing, and then go work on the second version. But at least the first version is out there. That might be what I end up doing at some point, because I'm purposely not hiring proofreader or editor. And I put in my book in the beginning, it says this book, because there's a section called Get Started Where You Are and Do It Without Shame. And I said, that's what I did. You will find punctuation and grammar errors in this book. But the fact that you're reading it tells me it worked because I have a published book. And a published book is always better than a book in my computer.
Amen.
So I don't know if that resonates with you or not, but it definitely is how I'm going.
It totally resonates.
Cool.
Today is supposed to be a podcast recording.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's going to be a totally different podcast than it would have been if Navy scheduled it because so many things have changed. But it'll still be a great episode.
So what do you mean so many things have changed?
So I changed the title of my book from A Parent's Guide to Becoming Great to Eliminating Excuses. It's the exact same book. It's just from a different frame. I want to help people eliminate their excuses, whether they're a parent or not. There's the parent sections are still there. The leadership sections are still there. And that's what makes it a better book. People buy it for them to eliminate excuses, and everybody's got excuses. I don't care who they are. However, some of them are parents, some are leaders, some are none. But I think I widened my market and became a very specific target to people willing to admit they have excuses.
Wait a minute. People have excuses?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They don't always admit to them, but they have excuses.
So why do we have excuses? Let's go back to the beginning of your story where you think things begin that have put you on this road, and you could be like, hey, I've had all these caverns and explosions and challenges in my life, but here's how I got to where I am. And this is why I'm here in front of people today. You've got a publication date of a new book coming out, and it's about those things in life that get in the way, and we call them excuses.
Yeah, and excuses is a mechanism that we grew up with, that our parents and those who loved us instilled in us so that we would protect ourselves physically. Because a baby will run off a cliff, they'll jump here, they'll run in traffic, they'll do everything. They will play with cords. So as parents, we teach them to be safe physically. But as they get older, those same parents and the same mechanisms start to teach us to be safe emotionally. Don't get rejected. Don't fail. Don't reduce your status. Don't embarrass yourself. And those things become more dangerous to the average person than actually physical harm. And I say this with love to the idiot who will drive 90 miles an hour down the expressway without thinking about the consequences, but that person's afraid to be rejected in business. That person's afraid to be turned down by the lady across, if he walks across the floor and asks her to dance, and everyone sees her say no. So that's where excuses come from. What used to be a physical protection is now an emotional protection against harm and pain.
Wow. So what is it about that emotional protection piece that you find fascinating, that you grapple with, that you've maybe grappled with on your own, or you've seen others go through this piece where they look at the world and they go, I don't know, man. I think I'm going to play it safe here.
And so we are either a victim of our past, or we are striving to be victorious in our future. And when you're a victim of your past, you're living in fear of past things that have happened to you, past limitations, past beliefs, things that your parents taught you about people like, quote, us, people like us. For example, I'm a Black man born in early 1960s. The world looked totally different back then than it does now. And being Black actually meant certain things you could not do, you could not say. Some of us still carry some of that stuff, and we teach that to our children. That's an example. Some people are raised by parents, and the kid says, I got this idea, I think I can be this. Instead of saying, oh, come on, what are the chances you'll never do that? They go, okay, so what's your step one? What are you going to learn? How are you going to get there? And they stoke it. And that's the difference in parenting. And leaders. Leaders do the same thing with people. But I can tell you, in my 20s, a lot of people, even in my teenage years, 20s, I was only able to apply for certain jobs because Black guys who were teenagers, they just weren't cut out for intellectual work, if you will. And that's not a racist thing to say. It was true back in the 70s. And I watched it change as I've gotten older. But if you're a leader and a manager and certain people rub you the wrong way, or you don't think they have potential, you will stifle their potential for your benefit or thinking you're benefiting them. And so those fears, the idea of mental protection, comes about in those ways.
Wow. So you're saying that subconsciously, in a way, people's future and potential can be derailed because of this perspective.
I am. I'm saying as loudly and proudly and boldly as I can get people to hear it. If you are a mom or dad and your kid comes to you and says, "Hey mom, I think I can play baseball professionally someday." And you go, "Oh, come on, boy, go away. You can't do that." You are stifling your child's dreams. Now, let's say statistically, most of us can't play professional ball, but man, we can get a free college education out of it. We can meet people that'll benefit us for our lives out of it. But when you shut down the whole dream, you shut down everything. There's a lot of distance between the average person and Major League Baseball that can be accomplished if you really believe you can get there. Even if you fall short, there's a heck of a lot of success in your path.
Wow. It's interesting that you mentioned that piece. One of my kids is interested in pole vaulting. And what a lot of people don't know about pole vaulting is the difference between the Olympic pole vault height and what you need to be good at for college scholarships is a massive difference. And so many people think, oh, I have to do 22 feet or I'm no good. For college, 14 is happy, 13, 15. It's quite a big difference than 22.
And the interesting about that, if I can say this, and I apologize if I cut you off, but this excites me. So the big schools, the colleges that we've heard of, whatever they are, a degree from a lesser college can still be profitable and change a person's life. You don't have to make it to North Carolina or whatever, Ohio State. Playing Division II football, baseball, or basketball still gets you a free ride. It's still a college degree. You still meet important people that can change a person's life for generations.
And it's not where you start, but it's where you choose to go from there that matters. It's just taking the step. And if people are in our lives that derail the steps, that don't encourage and challenge, that means that you're not anywhere. You could be on couch university, and you're just going to like reserve that spot because you're nervous that if you leave, you might have to be accountable to something or measure up or do some work.
That's true. I think parents oftentimes fit their children into their self-imposed limitations. And as a result, that's why you have generational struggles, but that's also why you have generation after generation who become successful, because parents model their lives into their children's lives.
Do you remember Publishers sweepstakes, a Publishers clearinghouse where people would knock on the doors and try to sell magazines? And there was this like winning prize of $10 million. And then Ed McMahon would ring the doorbell and you could get these big prizes.
I remember the commercials. They never knocked on my door, though.
They never knocked on my door either. But I remember hearing from this one guy. It's funny that his name is Mark as well. This guy said, man, I'm going to stay near that couch. I'm going to stay near that front door. Because any day now, Ed McMahon might ring the doorbell and I don't want to miss my chance. My ship's going to come in. So I won't go too far from home. And it dawned on me, you actually have to leave your home. You have to leave your environment and put yourself in a place of being uncomfortable and not being around anyone that looks like you or talks like you or is like you. And you're in this whole new space.
So two things, Mark. That guy, that wasn't you, right? That was somebody, that truly was somebody else, right? Because that may be one of the, for politically correct term, least effective ways to create success I've ever heard. I'm going to stay close to my home in case Ed McMahon knocks on my door. That's a really weird thing. But the second thing I would say is, We surround ourselves with people who make us comfortable. And we also want people who make us uncomfortable to not be successful because that makes us look even worse. And so, as a parent, the best thing that you can do for your children is put your ego aside and realize their success is your success. And their success is a lot better retirement for you than Social Security is going to be for you. So the more you encourage your children to go out and do something great, everybody wins. Everybody wins. There's a chapter in my book that says to you as a parent, you need to do this for your grandchildren so that they don't grow up in limitation and limitation. And that's how generational change gets started. Somebody makes a decision, we can do better.
Just because something is the case doesn't mean it always needs to be the case where there's a lack of resources. I remember my dad saying to me, hey, guess what? My dad told me while he was laying bricks and being a mason with him, you're going to need to continue to do this. You can't go to college. And my dad said to him, I want to be a rocket scientist. Kennedy has said we're going to go to the moon. They need great scientists. I want to be a rocket scientist. And his dad's like, no, here's a pile of money. Here's a guaranteed job for life. Don't go to college. And here's a car. And he said, I don't want that. I want this different thing. And so he had to find a broken down car without a motor that was functioning and probably not a transmission or brakes. And he and his sister put this car back together with hope, bubblegum, and duct tape and sort of did a MacGyver job on it and an A-team job to rebuild it. And he sort of made this as a rideshare early Uber to Boston University to learn rocket science. And that worked great until we lost Kennedy and NASA retrenched and had to move its space program from where it was to Houston. And I don't remember the timing of what happened when, but he just said, I can't move to Houston. I got to stay here with the family. And that's number one. But sometimes in life, it's these sacrifices that we make that we don't know the impact. Later, he became a mechanical engineer and developed 57 patents to send people home with stents and cleaned out arteries so that they could have heartbeats to still be with the ones that they love and not die too early. But man, what you're talking about is getting rid of excuses now that can make massive impact in the future, that people can go, wait, I wrote myself a permission slip with this excuse. What if I took it and I burned it or I ate it and the excuse was gone?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the most expensive habit the average person has, and I'd probably say maybe 80% of us have, is our excuses. We can't calculate how much our excuses cost us. Missed workouts, why we don't budget the way we're supposed to, why we don't have hard conversations early enough to prevent a problem, why we are afraid to do this, and you add them all up, it ends up being the limitation of our life. Excuses. And just one more thing to add to that. An excuse may sound perfectly reasonable and justifiable in our minds. When we say, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I can wait till next week and do that. But I'm also talking about procrastination and avoidance of the hard things you're supposed to do. But the biggest source we adults have is self-imposed limitations, where we decide, I never did that before, and I could never do it. People like me don't do that. I don't have the talent, the skill, whatever it takes. So we automatically limit ourselves from doing something that could truly change our lives if we just gave it a try. But we don't do it because we're so stuck in our fear of the past that we don't try to become victorious in the future at something new.
It becomes a victim of putting yourself in a jail cell of sorts where you go, I'm just going to do the Shawshank Redemption version of my life. It's safer to be in my land of what I know versus the land of what could be better. And I often see this with salespeople. I'll just say, send me someone that you wanted to close and then show me what really happened. Show me the video of the call. And I'll study it and I'll look at the buyer and I'll look at them and go, did you know that they trusted you here? But at this point, the trust started to drop and you had a chance to fix it, but it kept dropping. Why did you do and say these things? And they came back with, oh, wow. I didn't know I had permission to ask questions. I didn't realize I stole the microphone for so long. These things become patterns. And they're hard to detect if you're the one just prescribing what you think is the right way to be. You're writing the outcome. Oh, I'm only going to close deals 10% of the time, if I'm lucky. Well, what if you prescribed yourself an accountability coach or a partner that would just say, you know what, I'm going to speak into your life, into your sales programming, your mindset, something new that's going to feel really uncomfortable. But when you're in the middle of it, you're going to go, oh my gosh, this is exciting. Let me try that one thing. You talk about going to the gym or just getting rid of that one thing in the way. What are some stories that people from you can learn and hear sort of as a teaser for this new book?
So one of the interesting things about people is we surround ourselves with people just like us. And we get rid of anyone who we feel especially is above us, unless they're willing to finance everything. Then we'll keep them around because they're going to pay for everything. But if 10 people are in a group of people and 2 of them are really, really trying to get education, start a business, do things that take them away from the norm, people start talking about them in negative ways oftentimes. And I call it the power of associations. And just a quick story. When I was 26, I was dating a woman. Her name's Vanessa Tyler. She was beautiful. She was a reporter for the local TV station. She did the top story every week and ended up not feeling like I was worthy of her and I wanted to have more fun. So I dated someone totally different from her, not in good ways. And I regret that till this day, what my life could have been with a woman like Vanessa Tyler. And that's an example of stuff that people do. We associate with people we're comfortable with, not people who make us better.
There is a flip to this, which you've probably heard with different labels. A business partner of mine named Wayne talked about it in terms of the Fab Five. You pick 5 incredible people around you that feed you, that stimulate and challenge you, and you learn from, and you become a reflection of them. And at the end of the day, when you've kind of shaken off the dust from the day, whatever you've accomplished, they're sitting there with you, watching the sunset going, wow, I knew you could make it through that. I know that was hard, but I'm for you and I'm with you. It's those people that will just kind of go to battle for you.
Yeah, some very influential people in my life. They came, they helped, and they left, and they went on and probably helped other people. And I sometimes I say to myself, every day I want to reach out to an old friend and just see what they're up to and what they're doing, and I never find the time to do that. But the one thing that I would say is, look at the people you're comfortable with. Look at the people that you feel you're better than even. And what does that say about you? Because you're just better than those people or you're comfortable around these people. What do you guys talk about? Do you talk about ideas or do you talk about other people? Do you talk about how, if you're in a group of people and you all believe rich people only get rich because they're born that way or they're lucky, you're in the wrong group of people. Because there are a lot of rich people who busted their butt. And if you haven't read the story of the founder of Amazon or the founder of Apple or the founder of some great company, you're cheating yourself out of a real experience about what those people went through to get to be where they are. After you read my book, you should read one of those books.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny that you mentioned that story of those two, because in a weird way, I'm connected with both. Now, I'm in Green Bay, where Steve Jobs grew up in a portion of his life in this area. And he's one of those few people that people forget that he came in the world with a secondary challenge, which was his primary challenge. Was he was adopted. He wasn't with his parents growing up. His parents said, this is the memory I have of it, is he was put up for adoption. So he didn't get that same kind of experience that others might just go, oh, there's my mom and dad. I get it. I'm born from them. I believe Jeff Bezos has a similar story. And yet, they didn't look at the world from the perspective of, I don't have the same as others. They looked at it as, I think we could make something different. I think we could make something better. Years later, I was an e-commerce analyst at a research company, and my job was to write a report on the number one company for a place that you could buy consumer electronics, stereos, TVs online rather than going into Best Buy. Mm-hmm. And I wrote this report, and it said Amazon was number 5 on my list of places to go, not number 1. And somehow Jeff Bezos got a copy of the report, and someone on his team called the company where I worked at, and it wasn't a known company. We weren't profitable. We weren't known in the research world, and yet they were intrigued. Who said this about us, and how can we become number 1? So Julio Gomez goes to Jill, my boss, and Jill comes to me and says, hey, Mark, we're invited to go talk to the folks at Amazon and share some of our uncoveries and discoveries, and that might become an engagement. Well, I didn't know what that meant. I just went as the analyst. And as I went as the analyst, I asked all these questions. Why did you rank us here? Why did you rank us there? How could we be better? And they were curious about the better. So curious that at the end of the day, I had answered all their questions and I was just mentally spent. And on the agenda, it said dinner with Jeff Bezos. And I thought, perfect. Here's the guy that's behind this whole story. I made a massive mistake at that dinner. I'm sitting waiting for him to show up. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by. After 15 minutes, I'm starving, I'm exhausted. I walk up to the front of the restaurant and I said, all right, so when Jeff arrives, this is pre-LinkedIn, this is pre all these social media applications that we take for granted that when you walk into a room, people already know what you look like. I'm like, hey, when Jeff comes in, this is what Mark looks like, and Mark's going to be over there with Jill. She looks at me and she's like, he's not coming tonight. He wants you to have dinner on him, and that's it. Have a nice dinner. What I didn't realize is a salesperson would have reacted immediately. In a top 1%er would have said, what's in it for Jeff to meet with Mark? And said, Mark's canceled his flight back to Boston. He's not taking the red eye. What's better for you tomorrow, Jeff? 10 or 2? Figure out who booked the meeting, reach out to them and say, there's something that he has for you, that Mark has a question and insights that are only for you. What's best? I could have found a way to meet him, But no, I made an excuse. Must not have been the right thing for me. Must not be worthy. I don't know what I told myself. But even when I got back to Boston and the next day I got a call from an area code in Seattle, and it felt to me like it was Jeff apologizing. So I answered the phone. Hello, Jeff? No, it was a guy named Nate that I went to school with. I had forgotten that he went to Seattle, and I didn't know he had a job at Amazon. And still, I didn't go for it. I didn't follow up and find a way to make a meeting. That's a massive excuse that I have, a sales flop. How many times is
It's interesting because I think we we look at our lives through missed opportunities after they're done, but we don't see them then because we're not focused on that. And one of the things that I've learned over the course of time is that I see how something affects me at that moment, not how it affects me long term. And so relationships is an area. My lady and we recently broke up because of something I did wrong, not infidelity, not anything like that. Just we reached a fork in our relationship, and I let her know I can't do this. And I didn't think about how that affected her. I only thought about how it affected me. And when she's trying to say, I'm hurt, I'm this, I'm that, all I could think of, but I didn't do this and I didn't do that. And I didn't see her side of it. And I think the same thing is true of opportunity. We only see we naturally see the risk. We don't see the opportunity and potential reward. In almost every decision we make, the excuses see the risk, the opportunists see the opportunity. And we don't wait. Even if we weigh both sides evenly, we make more opportunity decisions. But when you only see the risk, all you can say is no, I'm not going to do it. And really, really smart people who go on to be a Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, you know what they do? Before they go anywhere, they're looking for opportunities to promote what they're doing or to advance what they're doing or to meet the right people. And we don't do that. Most guys spend more time looking for a hot woman than they do looking for the person who can help them become wealthy. Or even the woman that can spend the rest of their life with in joy and bliss. That's my presupposition about why so many people stay stuck where they are.
yes. And I like what you said about the risk and the opportunity. It feels to me like when a lot of salespeople that have followed the path before them, they look at, I'm just going to do what somebody else showed me, and I will copy that. What happens when that thing that you talk about for an entire hour is not at all why the person joined the call? And you end up consuming everything, stealing it, thinking that if you just talk more, they'll somehow see the spaghetti against the wall and go, that's the thing. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Mr. or Mrs. Rep. Now I'll buy. It's what you don't say, and it's what you ask that uncovers the real opportunity, where the salesperson can say, it's interesting that you mentioned that. This product is not a fit for you, but I know what is. That captures the attention of the buyer. Wait, you're not trying to push me into something? You're trying to help me? It's the difference between a servant mindset and a slave mindset. The slave mindset is, I'll just do what I'm told. I'll follow the company's sales pitch. I'll do everything they say and I'll show every slide. The servant, why are we here today? How can I serve you? You stopped your entire day of looking at 500 social media platforms, creating everything you could possibly do as excuses or AI, except you stopped your whole world and you're here with me. Why are you here? How can I serve you? What inspired you to take a risk and be pitch slapped with some PowerPoint or some demo that you're not going to remember 5 minutes later?
That's a great question. And I think that it happens in relationships, not just business deals, relationships the same way. And I really think that as a parent or leader, the better you get to truly know your people and desires, the more help you can help them accomplish those things.
Yeah. And as a dad, I'm always trying to figure that out. What are they interested in? What are they not interested in? What kind of fear, bothers them? I don't know these things unless I ask.
Well, I think that kids show what they're really interested in. Like, for example, if a child looks at a certain type of cartoon, maybe they'd like to. You can ask them, hey, how would you like to make cartoons like that as a career? When someone's really into sports, well, hey, how about I think you can ask questions, and sometimes we can create. Like, not everybody has a dream, but a parent can help someone develop a dream through education, through possibilities that don't exist when people just go to school because they have to, which is how most kids feel. I got to go to school. How can you give your children a reason to want to go to school? Because they have this end goal that they know that they can create, this life that they can create. That's one of the things I think is really important. I think the same thing is true with the people we love, our brothers, our sisters, our spouses, significant others, whatever we're calling them these days. I think we can stoke people to dream. And a person without a dream, I think, is living a pretty, I don't want to say miserable, but living a pretty, has a little to look forward to in the future. I think a dream gives us all something to look forward to in the future. Even if that dream is our children's success, that's still something to look forward to.
It is. We're talking about something of substance that passes from a parent to a child and a future generation. The education is the beginning point of knowledge and wisdom. It informs us some of the guardrails of life, but sometimes people don't know that there's a permission slip that they can write, that I am curious about this too, and I want this out of school today. Sometimes teachers are great at identifying this student is really intelligent, but it's a different kind of intelligence, and they're actually bored of this subject. I had one teacher look at me and say, Mark, you used to like math, but your grade shows that you don't. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you've got an F in calculus right now. I'm like, yeah, I don't like calculus. She's like, well, before you did not so bad in other math. I said, yeah, this doesn't speak to me. I don't care about it. And she's like, well, what do you care about? So, well, I'm going to get a business degree and I care about learning about that. And she said, what drives business? And I thought about it. And I was like, oh, it's human decision making. Human decision making and making trust and maximizing ongoing loyalty and engagements and profits is what calculus was really about. How do I deal with something that's so dynamic, like human nature, and understand it? I went from being bored, silly, and frustrated with calculus to, what could this really mean? Now, I didn't get an A in the class. I somehow scraped it back to a B minus with some self-respect. But I realized that if you're not interested in your own improvement, you'll continue to get the F in life, in something, which means you're failing to change, failing to get better at something.
Can I bring up something that I think is interesting about people?
Yeah.
So we all know that we look at someone and we know that they have certain genetics in their body. Some are tall, some are slim, some do one push-up and gain an inch of muscle. Other people do 100 and gain no muscle.
Yeah.
Some people see instant change. But the one thing we absolutely ignore is our unique mental wiring. So I am extremely specific, literal, and I see what's wrong. I can't help myself but do that. And so there is places where that's extremely called for. You can see what's wrong. You can stop us from making a lot of mistakes. You can see what's different about, 10 things. Why is that one is point one different, but it's different. Everybody has a wiring that lends itself to specific applications in life. And if they can figure out how to use that wiring, or if you as a mom or dad or leader can figure out how that unique wiring works, you can literally create a whole career out of it. And so I use that because I am not the warmest, fuzziest, and most friendly person on the planet. So I call myself your personal drill sergeant because it allows me to give you not orders, but be more direct, and you know what's going to happen when we get together. And in some cases, I make my clients more afraid of me than they are being rejected, or than they are making the phone calls, or than they are going for the walk. And so how do you use your wiring to your advantage instead of hiding from it and feeling out of place? It's okay to be out of place in some places, but how do you use that wiring to figure out your own unique calling for the way God wired you?
Mm. I'm so happy that you brought him up because this might be a familiar story to some people and not others, but it's the story about the talents.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is the master says to his servants, okay, I'm going to go on a trip. And I'm paraphrasing really badly. I'm trying to simplify the story. I'm going to go on this trip. One person gets 10 pieces of gold. Another person gets 5. And the third gets 1. I'm going to go away. And when I come back, I'm going to check in on what's happened. And the person that gets the 10 goes, wow, what a gift. What a blessing. How can I put those 10 to great use? The second one that gets the 5 goes, okay, what a gift. What can I do with these? And they invest those in certain ways. But the third person that gets the 1 decides, wow, I don't want to lose this 1. The master's given me something really incredible. I'm going to bury it and keep it safe. And the master that returns looks back and sees the tenfold increase in the one that saw what the talents really were. But the one that had that talent that decided to bury it chose not to give the gift that they were given and share it with the world. Some people get a lot of gifts, others just get few. It's what you choose to do with what you've got is the real lesson. And if you bury yourself, that wiring that you talk about, the gift that you've got, if you're not honing that and sharpening it and sharing it, it will remain as it is and it won't multiply and create the Great Commission. I mean, a lot of people misunderstand the Great Commission of the gospel. If we're all designed to be blessings and in the nature of God in terms of the design, and we're truly gifts to the world and we're not acting and living that way, it's kind of obvious why there's a disconnect that's out there. You can see it in people's hearts. This person's really living in a way for others rather than for themselves. And they're showing up with excuses. Well, I don't know if I want to do anything. I might lose that 1 talent. Don't want to get any worse. So they stay the same.
I think that the talents that you talk about and the idea of the Great Commission and talking about not just God, but whatever it is you do for a living has a lot to do with what you think about you more than it does about the other people or more than it does anything else. And that's why I talked about the wiring, because sometimes we're out of place in some rooms and it's okay to be out of place in a room. You either reshape the room or you find the room where you fit in at. But every way that God made some, like when you look at people who have autism or other things that the societal function, they do have special abilities that the average person doesn't have, like dealing with patterns, from what I understand. People with autism or one of those on the spectrum, they can create some amazing patterns. And we've read stories about artists who are socially awkward, but they're amazing at the art because of the way they're wiring. I think if when I tell a wiring story, it is to make that out of place person feel like there's a place for them. They just need to find it. There's a use for that unique skill. They just need to find it. And if they do that, they'll not only make their lives better, they'll make the world a better place.
Speaking of making the world a better place, what is a purpose, a cause, a nonprofit that you care about today that connects to your story? And it doesn't mean there isn't another one and another one, but what comes to mind today that's near and dear to your heart and your purpose that will connect you with today's audience?
Oh, it would be Lakeshore Community Church, the church I attend, because they go out and do a whole bunch of things. They do a lot of outreach all around the world. My church supports nursing mothers who are considering abortion as an option. It shows them ways that they can actually do better than an abortion, bring the baby to term, raise the term. They go across and they dig wells and other things to feed people in other countries. We do once a year something called Feed My Starving Children. And we go and we pack meals. And I think we've packed like 1 million meals. And that might be an exaggeration, but it's not intentional. But we packed a heck of a lot of meals over the 5 years I've gone to the church. And we send them overseas to families who would not have food otherwise. And so Lakeshore Community Church does a heck of a lot to make the world a better place to live in.
I'm so glad you shared that. I don't think people hear enough about the impact of organizations that people join and why they put their faith in the organization and they donate their time to going because there's a bigger purpose. I love the story of that impact, and thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, my pleasure. I found the church by accident, sort of, after the pandemic. They do something called the Global Leadership Summit. I volunteered there before the pandemic, and then my church shut down for a long, long time. And I live closer to Lakeshore Community Church, so that's where I go now because they do so much more than take care of our own people here locally.
Thank you for being on the show.
It's my pleasure. I hope that I hope two things. Number one, I hope I fulfilled your hope that I would bring when I brought it. And secondly, I hope somebody hears something I says and decides, you know what, I can do better, and pursue people who help them do better.
Welcome to the Close with One podcast. Today we have Mark Dulaney, and he's going to share something really specific that not a lot of people are willing to speak into your life, which is, where are those things that you have called habits and excuses that are keeping you from the success that is designed to be in your life, the circuitry of success? Mark has a brand new book that's coming out that gets through all this and shows you some of the things that maybe made sense when you were little, but as you've grown into an adult, there's different things that you need to see and hear in order to create success around you. I'm so excited to have Mark on the show today. Buckle up, grab some coffee, tea, bowl of popcorn, and maybe a notebook, because we're going to be referencing things that are going to make a real impact. No more excuses. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I can't wait to see what we create together.
Yes. Well said. Well said. I'm excited about your book.
I am too. I'll be glad when it's something I can physically hold in my hand and people can give me money for it. That's exciting too.
Yeah.
I've done others before, so it's not my first one. This is the most significant one. Well, this one was pretty significant because I had to print them myself. I had to print 2,000 copies on my own before I could sell them. Uh,
Really?
yeah, because that was back before print on demand. There
Yeah.
was no Amazon when I wrote that book.
Yeah.
So I had to buckle up and spend 2,000 copies. I think it was close to 10 grand I paid for that.
I know.
Plus, I hired someone to design the cover. I hired the editor. I did it all. Had a lot more money then, I guess.
Yeah.
When do you think this episode might air?
I could use your help with rating my podcast, and I will submit this to the team and prioritize it for them to do. I'm now asking them to do a couple episodes a week, but I'm behind. So I'm feeling like this probably will be March,
Okay.
probably later in March. I definitely want to get it out before your book. I think that would be good.
I think that would be good too, but it's also good no matter when it comes out because the timing when it comes out, we just have to make it work. That's all.
Yes.
The problem, you know what I found? Like when I'm a guest on someone's podcast, like if I was a guest on someone 2 weeks ago, the title of the book is already wrong, and it's already, you know what I mean? Like when you're as new as my business is, you evolve so quickly that a month you're totally different than where you were. I'm totally different now than I was when we scheduled this appointment. That's how quickly things change for me right now.
Wow.
I
What's
don't
an
think I don't think this title is going to change. This is it. This is what I'm going with. So I'm done writing. Now it's just publishing. So that won't happen again.
All right. So I'm going to hold you to it. So it's called what? No.
No, eliminating excuses. I actually have a image if you want one of the cover and of just the logo part of it alone.
Yes. Please send that to me.
Will do. Can I share my screen? I can show you my cover right now.
Absolutely. And if you can send me a link to the file, that would be fantastic.
That is the new cover.
I love it. Your personal drill sergeant.
Yep. That's owning who you are. I am much more of a drill sergeant than a coach, and I'm not warm and fuzzy like most coaches seem to be.
I was the warm and fuzzy for a while, and I realized that it doesn't do anything. It's too
Well,
coddling and kind.
Well, I think that there are people who I'm convinced that there are people who hire a coach not because they change, but because they feel better after every session. And that's what they want. That's what they want to do. They want to feel better about where they are in life and what they're doing. So that coach works for them. They have great conversations. They the client leaves feeling good. And as long as they're willing to pay, the coach is willing to meet with them.
What happens when the person really doesn't improve and the coach has been saying the same thing again and again? At a certain point, the charade is up. If you ask the question, what's truly better as a result of the work? And not every set, meaning coach and client, actually improve to where they want to go. It's actually a really special thing when it works great, because you've got constant improvement where the person goes back to their early part of their life before the coach. They go, holy crap, you made this difference in my life. Without you, I would not have gone from here to here, not in my own will, my own way, any other organization I could have hired. You made it possible.
I can't argue with you, but what I would say is that for some people, to keep someone on the line for years of billable hours is the most important thing they can do for themselves. And I dated a woman who had I don't know if he was a therapist. I think he was a therapist. And she used to come away how good she felt after the meeting. And even though she wasn't changing, she wasn't really growing, but she felt a lot better. And sometimes to some people, that's worth a lot more than actual change and growth.
I agree. It's in the eyes of the beholder. If the person that's asking for the experience is happy with the experience and they wouldn't change anything, then that's great. Sometimes people need a better feeling, more confidence, and even that makes an impact from that one coach that speaks into that person's life that way. Because there is an impact prior to the call, during the call, and after. They're transformed for a long enough period of time that they go, oh my gosh, I needed that. That was helpful. It did something. Was it permanent? Maybe no, but it was valuable.
I'm agreeing with you 100%. And that's why I think there's so many coaches out there, because I don't know I don't know if you're certified as a coach or anything like that. I never took a certification program. I've seen people, a person asked me to like be their practice client. And I don't know, different strokes for different folks is all I'll say. The podcast is done, right? We're no longer recording.
It's done. I'll hit this. All right. So what is it about where you're at right now from what you just said?
So I am 65 years old, and I feel like I'm living a life of a 23-year-old. Now, two things. I never get tired of people telling me I look like I'm in my 40s. But number two, I'm taking the 40 years of experience as an adult, and I'm starting my life all over again at 23. I did not do well my first time through. I did learn a lot. I had great experiences. Then I got a cancer journey in November of 2023. And 2024 was my cancer treatment year and recovery. And at the start of 2025, I declared myself a cancer survivor. But I was still getting up. It was prostate cancer, by the way, which meant I got up 2 or 3 times a night to go to the bathroom. I didn't have the energy. I had radiation and testosterone reduction, which meant I didn't have the strength or energy I used to have. So finally, on April 22nd, 2025, I said, I'm no longer a cancer survivor, but I kicked cancer's ass. And at that moment, everything inside of me changed. People say the mind controls the body, and it's hard to believe that, but that one decision put me on the path that I am now. I would not be here if I didn't make that decision that day. So now I'm writing a book. I have 2 podcasts going. I am starting a movement called Eliminating Excuses. And right at this moment, I just started a 68-day offensive against my own excuses. Because the only way to really conquer excuses is to take them head on. You cannot negotiate with excuses. And so I'm going public in front of everyone who listen and talk about my journey, my successes, my struggles, my failures, and I'm applying what's in my book to my excuses so I can eliminate all of my excuses and do some really powerful things. So I don't know how much detail you want, but I got 4 specific goals and 1 must thing that I must do. I want to publish my book by April 22nd. I want to generate $7,500 in new income. I have my own podcast that I'm launching, and I'm doing one with a doctor. The one with the doctor is called Medicine and Discipline. He is one of those GLP-1 doctors. I'm big on discipline. My podcast is called The War of Selves. And then the 4th thing that I want to do is take care of my body. The 5th thing I have to do is I got to do my taxes, because it's March for corporations, April for individuals. So I don't want my life to fall apart. But those are the things I'm doing. I'm holding myself accountable publicly by sharing every day what I did, what I didn't do, and why.
That's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I can't wait to see how it goes. Believe it or not, the day we're recording, this is day 1. Day 1 of 68 days.
Wow.
And just one last thing. I would like to share this to you. I am so nervous over this because it's not something that I'm doing privately. I'm something I'm doing publicly, which means there's risk. What I realize is if you're doing something with absolutely no risk, there's probably not a lot of reward to it. The fact that this is a lot of risk, it's a great book promotion. It's a great way to promote my services in general. And it's a great way to create a massive amount of accountability. I can't show up every day. Hey, I can help you limit your excuses while mine are running rampant. So I got a proof of concept. I'm excited about this. Scary as hell. Sorry, but I'm excited about what's going to happen over the next 68 days.
You've made yourself the accountability partner in this scenario.
I have. I've created a form of accountability far beyond what I could hold myself to by making it so public.
I can't wait to see what happens.
Well, you are in my school group, so you'll get to hear about it almost every day because I'm going to report to you guys as a value added for all of you in my group.
Excellent. Well, time for me to do my day one.
It is. It is. You're going to be amazed at day one. You're going to have to come to confront why you might not have done it up till this point.
Yes. That's a brutal awakening right there.
Yeah. I'm good if you are.
Yes.